I hate when this stuff happens because it makes me feel like I've made a mistake. I don't want to be alone, you know. So when I'm going through these challenges, sometimes you want to go back. The only person that I ever loved in my life was my ex.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Rivah, and I am back again with another video. Now listen, over about a year and a half ago, I said this from the beginning, right? There was all this talk about, Tia, her divorce, her quote unquote graduation. And I was very adamant on the fact that, you know what? Tia can, you can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time, right? And I was very well aware of the fact that, Tia is stepping out on the limb and she absolutely regrets her divorce. Now, it's so funny when you're in these situations, when you say things and other people have to wait for the actual validation before they can believe it. But it's so interesting, like, whenever you have the ability in life and in general to read between the lines based off of what people are saying, their actions, and in the way that they are portraying themselves, you're very well aware of all of the signs and signals of the truth of the matter, right? So in this recent episode of Tia's TV show, which I'm telling you, this TV show is something else, okay? We only on episode 2 and already so much stuff has happened. She's revealed so much information. She done put all her business out there, but she revealed in this most recent episode that she, while she's in the dating phase, regrets her divorce.
I hate when this stuff happens because it makes me feel like I've made a mistake.
A mistake of what?
Of getting a divorce.
Girl, God.
What I thought was very interesting, when she revealed that sometimes she feels like she made a mistake, was that, the people around her or her quote unquote closest friend was basically telling her like, no, girl, no, you don't. You're the one that wanted this. You're the one. And like, I personally feel that as women, it's important that you have people around you who are not bitter or negative or, have any disdain towards relationship reconciliation or fixing things. And what I noticed is that this quote unquote friend, her closest friend who has been around her, she's always trying to, invoke or infiltrate Tia's mind with her own personal feelings, right? So it's like, because she has a certain disdain towards men, because she has a certain attitude, because she feels that, men are beneath women and whatever the case is, she always tries to push that narrative onto Tia. And it's important as a woman to understand how much the company around you is going to affect the results that you are going to have in your future.
Got here with those tight ass pants on. Like, he literally borrowed that outfit. He can't afford her. You know how tight that jacket was? Like, he could not even breathe with that taco meat on his chest. Like, he legit pissed me off. There are a shortage in men, girl. Good men.
Now, you see, if this was a different friend who was around Tia, like me, okay, I'm just going to be really honest with you. I'm being very transparent. I would have been like, well, what are the emotions that you feel when you feel that you want to go back? When you feel like you made a mistake, what is it about the situation? Is it the loneliness? Is it the bond that the two of you had? Do you feel as though this is something that you guys would be able to repair? That's what I want to say. Right? Because as a woman, you understand the power of marriage, and so you understand that, okay, you're out here, you're trying something new, maybe you did make a mistake. Let's explore that conversation. Let's explore those feelings before I'm telling you or pushing this narrative onto you that, no, you got it, you big and bad, you don't need him, you don't need to go back, you don't need to spin no block. How different of a conversation would it have been if she went down that road instead of trying to tell her what she should or should not feel?
I hate when this stuff happens because it makes me feel like I've made a mistake.
A mistake of what?
Of getting a divorce.
Girl, God. And that is scary because you thought about that long and hard.
I did.
4 years. It wasn't one argument, you're out.
What's interesting to me is that, every time that Tia talks about the divorce at this point, right, on the TV show as of recent, she only says because, him and I are no longer.
Just because you are no longer doesn't mean that there's no love there. This is a symbol of a marriage, and it's no longer.
it's really hard for her to say that Corey and her are broken up. Corey and her are divorced because our relationship is over. I noticed that it's very hard for her to formulate it in that way. And the only way that she can articulate it is to say, oh, well, since it's no longer, and since it's no longer, and because it's no longer. And I personally feel like that's because, deep down, she doesn't even like saying that. Right? She doesn't even like how it feels when she articulates herself in that way, saying that the two of them are no longer in a relationship. And the amount of tears that Tia is dropping every time this man's name is mentioned, every time she has to talk about the breakup, every time she talks about the divorce. And again, this being so long after the two of them separating, her already going on dates, her already testing the field. Maybe, just maybe, all these people around you, if they were pouring into you and not being, the sisterhood and just fanning your flame, if they were really honest with you, I'm pretty sure we would have already seen a reconciliation. If Corey would have it.
The only person that I ever loved in my life was my ex. He's still in my heart, And just to think about someone else feels weird.
Remember when Tia posted this post exactly last year, basically, and she said, "A word from me, since the narratives are being made without my consent. Hear it here and only here. Just because the dating life is complicated doesn't mean I'm going back to something that no longer served me. That's like implementing if I don't book an audition or a part as an actor right away, I'm going to give up on my dreams. Please just stop. I ain't that weak. Please move on because I have. Thank you. Next." She's saying that, and then on the TV show, she's saying something completely different. Now, I'm actually talking about different tidbits of this situation, but the episode actually started with Tia talking about how she is going to repurpose her wedding rings, right? So the rings that Corey gave her when he proposed and when they got married, she's going to take them to a jeweler and have the jeweler do something with the ring so that it can be made into, I believe, a bracelet for the daughter and a necklace for the son. But interestingly enough, there was a scene in which Tia put the ring on, okay? And the look of defeat on her face was ridiculous.
Wow. Do you wonder? I do. Because I haven't worn it. It's just been sitting. It was very pretty.
Now, the reason why I say that this is ridiculous is because, if you are this hurt about this situation, you see, when a woman is done with a relationship, I got to tell you, when a woman is over it, when a woman no longer wants to be in a relationship with a man, there's no tears, there's no heartache, she don't even want to talk about him. Okay? She literally wants to act like he never existed. I don't know you, sir. You don't know me. There is no constant communication about that person. There's no constant conversations mentioning that person's name, bringing up the past, living in the past. Like when a woman is over a relationship, it's over. Hence why I strongly believe that Tia is fighting against, her coming out here and being the spokeswoman for divorce. And now she feels some kind of way because, even if she would want to reconcile, the sisterhood would never allow it. There's too many women who she uplifted when she decided to, quote unquote, graduate from her marriage, that they would look at her and be like, wait, you convinced us that there was a good thing for us to walk away too. We can't go back. So now what are we going to do?
I'm all about inspiring and encouraging. And I mean, the DMs that I have gotten from so many women that are going through the same thing and just saying how they admire my courage and my strength.
I'm going to be honest with you. This TV show is called Tia Mowry Next Act. I think this TV show should have been called Tia Mowry Talks About Corey Hardrick. Okay, I think that's exactly what the TV show should have been labeled, because that's what the whole entire narrative is about. And I understand that they are trying to explore her life after divorce, and so they're going through and picking up all the pieces. Like, I completely get, the production standpoint of the TV show. However, it's putting a light on Tia that is making people look at her in a different way. And I can't say if it's negative or positive, but from the comments that I see on social media, a lot of the people who were rooting for her, a lot of people who were rooting for her on social media doing the dance and stuff like that, they're kind of looking at her in a way like, girl, you going out sad. Okay, you just look sad, you seem sad, It doesn't seem like you are full-fledged 100% in this situation. It does not seem like, you genuinely want to do this. It seems as though like you're doing this almost against your will. Like maybe you really need to go back. I saw so many people talking about it in the comment section saying, she needs to just go back to her husband. Stop playing the game. Stop trying to be out here. Stop trying to get, garner experience, because all that stuff is really not worth it when the person who genuinely loves you, cares for you, and is willing to work through things with you, you don't have that.
Because people who know Corey Hardrick know that his kids and his family was everything to him.
And interestingly enough, Tia knows herself that she does not have that. And I think that, her going out there and tipping her toe in the dating pool, she was really like, oh, okay, I'm tripping. Okay, I think I was a little bit impulsive. Okay, I think I should have thought about this, 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line before I decided to make this decision. And she even, had the audacity to, draw a reference to something that we already know the great KS has already said to a lot of these women.
We're talking about the speed dating situation.
I need the tea.
It was a show. It was hell.
So what do you want to do? What's your best case scenario?
I think I'm just going to die alone.
Girl, bye.
Now, after, she quoted the great KS and basically spoke about the things that he always told a lot of these women, her friends were like, oh, you'll never be alone. You'll always have us. And then you can see Tia's face, her smile kind of drop.
You will never be alone. You have us.
Because it's like, I don't want y'all like that. And this is the problem with the quote unquote sisterhood. Right? They feel like, oh, we want you to go out there because we want you to be happy, but we really don't want you to really find somebody because we want to have, 100% access to you in your business at all times. And if you get into a stable relationship with a man who is going to protect his household, we're not going to be able to be all up in your bedroom, going through your closet. We're not going to be able to, call you at the drop of the dime and we can go out to a restaurant and have drinks. We're not going to be able to have this access. So you don't really, you could try to find a relationship, but you don't really, really need one because you got us here, standing in the gap for you.
After my relationship, I was single for 9 years, and it was an emotional roller coaster.
And a lot of these women put other women in positions where they do become single, and the only women that they have, the only people they have around them is their friends, their homegirls. But what I find interesting is wait till these girls go get a relationship, then they're going to leave you in the dust, and then you're going to be sitting there twiddling your thumbs.
You feel lonely even though you have a tribe around you.
Yeah, I do. And I'm tired of feeling that way, to be honest with you.
There was a point in the show where Tia's assistant, put her out there to go on speed dating, right? So in this situation, she was going on speed dating. She was able to, if you guys know how speed dating works, you sit down, you talk to a person, and then once the timer goes off, you switch to the next person and the next person and so forth. And, Tia was there and she was, he and ha-ha and she was saying all of these things, to these men to make it seem as though everything was cool. And then whenever she went to her like green screen and talked about it, she was like, yeah, I don't like nobody.
Honestly, they all were not my type. I think the type of guy that I'm really attracted to is a guy who's, tatted, like a guy who's funny, who has a sense of humor, bad boy qualities and edge.
I strongly believe the reason why none of these guys are her type is because the person who she is longing to be with is Corey. No one's ever going to be good enough. There was a time when Tia talked about courting when she was on a podcast, and she talked about how guys don't court women anymore. And she decided to talk about the entire situation of how her and Corey got together and how amazing the courting was.
When I was dating this person, it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was wonderful. There was courting that was, involved.
Likewise, when Tia got on, her TV show, there was a portion of the conversation where she was talking about how Corey proposed and her face lit up.
2006, December 25th, I was proposed to. I was at my mother's house around Christmas dinner, and the song by Jagged Edge started playing. And Corey got down on one knee in front of my whole entire family and asked to marry me. I was so surprised.
And this is why I always say the same thing. A lot of women are surrounded by other women who are yes men. Or there are women who will force them into a certain narrative that keeps them single, right? So you have women who are around women who will either say to them, well, no, girl, you need to leave him because, you know, I'm not gonna be here and support you being with him when you're not happy. You need to leave him. You need to move on. Or you have women who are like, you know, just sitting there and agreeing with whatever it is that you're saying and not giving you constructive criticism. And most of the time, these women are never about reconciliation. And I think that it's very important to talk about the fact that women, you know, allow temporary emotions to change the whole dynamic of their entire life. They let this temporary moment, this temporary situation, this temporary feeling, and sometimes a temporary feeling can last for months. I'm going to be honest, maybe even years. It's a strong possibility. But you have to understand, you know, a lot of these women, they think, again, they think they're so big and bad. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go out here. I'm going to go find somebody else. I'm going to go find a replacement that's better than him. I'm going to go find me somebody who's going to do this, that, and all of this. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to have this, you know, quick, happily ever after story. And he not going to know what hit him. And then they go out there and they be looking around like, like Jerome, like, can't find him.
Yes, they say that self-love and spending time with yourself and all of that is important, but what is wrong with me saying I want a partner?
And it's important that we have these conversations and we're realistic. And listen, everyone is going through life and growing through life. I completely understand that. You know, there are people who go through things and they make certain decisions and they think it's the right decision based off of how they're feeling, and they think that moving in this direction might change the trajectory and it might be you know, the better situation for them. But I think it's also important that we are able to understand when we have honestly made a mistake. Because people will say, you know, well, everything happens for a reason, but sometimes the reason is that you were impulsive.
The only person that I ever loved in my life was my ex.
And in turn, if you're not learning the lesson, let me tell you something, right? You see, the women who are able to amicably move on after relationships and genuinely be happy in a different relationship are the women who were completely honest with themselves and dealt with that situation head on. They were honest to say, I made a mistake. They were honest to say that, you know what, my relationship really was not that bad. I should not have done this. I was impulsive. When they are able to self-reflect effectively, they are able to move on. You see, the women who are always the victim in the situation, they're the ones who have it the hardest.
First thing that I did outside of my divorce was get on the dating apps.
Another thing that was very interesting to me was when Tia said, you know, that she went through this divorce and she was super emotional and she was like, you know, I have the house, I have the kids, but the only thing is that I don't have, you know, the love of my life, which I so desperately want. And the reason why it has a lot of people scratching their heads is because Tia made this decision. You had that.
I'm just saying, I just want someone to hold. And someone told me and to hug me, and what's wrong with wanting that? This beautiful house. I have a beautiful career. I have amazing kids. But the one thing that I don't have is love. And that's the one thing that I want more than anything.
You had somebody who loved you and supported you and was there for you. You had the whole picture within your home. You decided to step out of that, and now you're so desperately wanting that back. You see, I think that other women, as even women a part of the sisterhood, like I said, that they are already starting to be over the foolishness. I think the reason why they're so fed up is because, you know, if she was out here living her best life, not talking about this man, not drawing reference to their relationship, not bringing him up every second and not crying, they would have been like, okay, yeah, you know, you made that decision and you standing 10 toes down on it. We're cool. But the fact that they know that she is, and this is just my personal opinion, that she's stepping into waters where, you know, maybe she's relearning herself. Maybe she's trying to find herself, which is a whole nother conversation for a different day. But it feels as though she's putting on the clothing of somebody else and acting out a scenario, but she's not genuinely being true to herself and her own feelings and the truth of the situation. And I think a lot of people have too much shame to say, you know what? All these women, I want to let y'all know I was tripping. We saw it recently with Judge Mathis the other day. You know, his wife came out and said she was getting a divorce, and he was like, listen, I messed up. I almost lost my family. I almost lost my wife. And I want other men to know that don't put your work before your family. Like, he was so forthcoming of that that information.
It's hard for me to not think about Corey when I am deciding to repurpose my wedding band, because he is the one that gave me my wedding ring.
You know, a lot of women talk about how men have such a big ego, but women have an ego as well. And when women have, when women have an ego, they will stand there wrong and strong, crying, you know, snot nose, heartbroken, and acting like they're okay because they don't want to face the fact that they were actually not perfect in a certain area.
Love is not enough to stay in a relationship.
I think a lot of women can learn from this situation. And if nothing else, I think a lot of women can see the reality of when women go out there expecting certain outcomes and don't necessarily have those outcomes at their disposal.
I don't want to be alone, you know, so when I'm going through these challenges, sometimes you want to go back.
They can see what life is truly like when they decide, you know, imagining that you don't want to be with your man sounds fine. Right? While your man is still in the house and you know, y'all get into an argument, you acting like, oh, I could do this without him. I don't need him. You know, imagining that he is cool and you're going to be good when you go out there and you live your life is fine when he's still laying in the bed with you. It's a different reality when you call him and you can't get him on the phone. It's a different reality when you come home and nobody's there. It's a different reality. And I think a lot of women need to take that into consideration. I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I would love to hear you guys' opinions on this video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.